Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. How much more can humanity take? It's kind of one of those questions that no single one of us can answer for a whole. We really can only answer when it concerns ourselves. I'm done. Honestly, I think my best way forward is just to remove the filters. It's everywhere I turn, and I'm sure it's the same for many of you. I can't have a single conversation without somebody trying to compete. I'm not interested in competing with anyone. Competing with people only causes problems for me. Maybe it works for you. It just gets people pissed off at me. I can't help it. Don't make me compete. I ask people, I beg people not to make me compete. I don't want to. There are some people on this earth that are ruthless when they set out about a task. I'm one of those people. I set goals, and I'd been known to tear myself apart to reach them. But I reached them. I challenge myself like that often. Not, unfortunately, I can't do it physically anymore. And it's frustrating. I just don't want to compete. We got a hell of a long road ahead. And it's not going to do anybody any good for everybody to be tearing away at one another as they're trying to build. And I see a whole lot of that. The things that people are freaking out about today, they'll damn well wish was their problems in the coming years. Some people refer to them as first world problems, and I have to giggle, I have to laugh, because I've been guilty of the same myself. I can remember there was a meme that I just saw just the other day, and it showed just a misfit way of temporarily reconnecting a cable line that somebody broke when they were digging, and so they put their own connectors on it and made their own jerry-rigged connection until the cable company could get there 2 days later. Done it. Both phone lines, cable lines, done it. So, it's just kind of one of those things. But I'm telling you, the problems that we're going to be facing aren't going to be, it's going to be 2 days before they can get out to fix my internet. It might be, it's going to be 2 days before the doc is back into town to see me. the things that we face is a world like nothing we've ever seen, nothing we've ever imagined. It'd be really hard to. I mean, it's just life. I mean, that's not nothing to be ashamed of. That's actually something to be happy of. If you haven't really had to struggle, if you haven't really had to fight, you should feel blessed. And I believe, at least on some level, that most of us have been blessed. I certainly have. I certainly have. I don't look for all the negative. I know I come here, I do news, I get that. But I'm not a negative person. I don't want to hear all kinds of drama. I don't want to hear all kinds of negativity. I want to hear solutions. I want to see what actions. Because just telling people about the problems doesn't change anything. You know, one of the reasons when I started doing this show, I felt it was very important that not only did I do news, but I also kind of mixed in survival prepping with it to let people know what they can do. I just didn't want to be here telling you about the problems and not giving you any solutions. Unfortunately, I can't give you, I'm not going to bullshit you, I can't give you any solutions on fixing your government. I can't do it because voting's not going to do it. Sorry, it's not. I can't help that. I can only report accurately on it. There are a lot of things in life I can't help. I can't do nothing about. I know exactly how much horse shit they are. Believe me. I've got an entire lifetime of horse shit that I can talk to you about. Some of it I brought on myself. Some of it not so much. And again, I think that represents a good amount of us. But I'm tired of all the nonsense arguments. I'm tired of all the bullshit debates. It really is a time that, as far as the prepping world goes, if you will, it's time to stop worrying about waking up more people. It's time to start worrying about gathering alliance. It's time to take a real good look again and figure out what's the assets in your life and what's the liabilities. I think it's really time to get ready to batten down those hatches. But as for me and my position in humanity, I'm taking the filter off. I'm tired of it. I've been passive for way too long. I know some people might think, you passive? Yeah. 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 Very much so. You know, there's a difference in between bullshit and competence. And the difference is experience. I've got enough experience that at the age of 50 years old, I am absolutely, completely worn out. Both physically, both mentally, not spiritually. That I'm thankful for. That I've got no problem with. I get frustrated because I'm ready to go home. So I do get frustrated. I get frustrated that I'm stuck here, to be quite frank. And I figure if I've got to put up with the world's bullshit, then okay, let them put up with mine for a little bit. Let's see how that flies. I expect it won't go so well. Well, I'm just worn down. Just worn down. Anyway, I've got some tabs open. Figured I'd make it somewhat of a simple night. I'm just not much in a good mood. I figured I'd just run through the headlines I have open, which much of it targets, pretty much one thing. And then do the headlines and run out and scream or do something. I don't know. Okay. Sorry, I was just looking. There was a headline on my phone, but it's sports related, so. Anyway, let me take you on over. Videos showing execution of Russian POWs in Ukraine are authentic, says New York Times. And, I know there's a lot of, oh, well, that's New York Times. And when can we just worry about what the facts are? That's what I want. I really don't give two shits about who says it. What I want to know is whether or not it's true. That's all that matters. This whole high school football game bullshit, I told you, I'm taking the filter off. I don't care. As long as the news, the information is accurate, that's all I care. I have looked, and I firmly believe this information to be true and correct. I don't know how else to say it. New York Times says verified the authenticity of videos that surfaced online last week showing the execution of captive Russian soldiers by Ukrainian troops. The men appear to have been shot dead at close range, according to the newspaper. The events shown in the clips occurred in the village of Makiivka, something to that effect, in the People's Republic of Lugansk earlier this month, the newspaper reported on Sunday. The videos, whose authenticity has been verified by the New York Times, offer a rare look into one gruesome moment among many in the war, but do not show how or why the Russian soldiers were killed, the New York Times wrote, adding that what actually happened to the soldiers remains a mystery. However, the outlet noted, judging by the footage, at least 11 Russians appear to have been shot dead at close range after one of their fellow fighters suddenly opened fire on Ukrainian soldiers standing nearby. The New York Times also cited Dr. Ruhini Har, medical advisor and Physicians for Human Rights, who said that killing or wounding a combatant who, having laid down his arms or having no longer means of defense, has surrendered at discretion, is a violation of the laws of international armed conflict. It looks like most of them were shot in the head, Har said, of the Russian soldiers in the clips. There are pools of blood that indicates that they were just left there dead. There appears to have been no effort to pick them up or help them. In one of the videos, which appeared on social media, the Russian servicemen were shown surrendering to Kiev troops and laying down on the ground before a second clip showed their bodies lying motionless in pools of blood. Sorry, it's graphic. Another video with no sound, which is also believed to have been made at the scene, purportedly showed a Russian soldier emerging from a building and shooting at the Ukrainians. Russia has described the clips as proof of deliberate and methodical murder of its soldiers by Ukraine. The UN has urged an investigation into the videos, with Kiev promising to carry out a probe. So, here's the thing. Remembering the fact that I don't have to choose a side. Another part I don't get. I believe that indeed happened. I do believe that they executed those Russian POWs. I do not believe that this is the first war crime committed by Ukraine, and in fact I would rather not believe, but I'm pretty sure that Ukraine has been participating in war crimes from the start. I'm not saying that Russia is not, but people need to understand this whole back and forth, choose a side, this is nonsense. I don't choose either. But I will report on it as honestly and accurately as I can. Ukraine, as in the government of Ukraine, is horse shit on any scale. They are neo-Nazis. Yes, Hitlerites. They are literally Nazis. I can't say it any more clearly. They are Nazis. The thing that gets me is I shouldn't have to say more than that. Or no one should, not me in particular, but nobody should have to say any more than that. That should be it. And people should be like, we're what? We're sending billions of dollars? Yeah. Again, I'm not picking a side. Not a fan with a whole lot of stuff Putin's been doing in his own country. But you know what? I don't live there. I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go. There's been some pretty insane things that has happened all throughout this conflict. We have a nuclear power plant that even to this day is continually being bombed, or attacked, I should say. I'll say attacked. A nuclear power plant. Ukraine is doing it. No, nobody is telling them to stop. Well, I mean, you know, the official agencies, but United States not telling them to stop. None of NATO is telling them to stop. Nobody's telling them to stop. When it comes to this particular incident, the U.S. downplayed it. Here it says, while acknowledging concern over videos that showed Ukrainian forces executing captured Russian soldiers, the U.S. War Crimes Envoy has argued that allegations against Kiev's forces pale in comparison to Moscow's alleged atrocities. We are obviously tracking that quite closely, Beth Van Schack, U.S. Ambassador at Large for Global Criminal Justice, told reporters in a telephone briefing on Monday. It's really important to emphasize that the laws of war apply to all parties equally, both the aggressor state and the defender state, and this is in equal measure. However, Van Sack added, when it comes to the war in Ukraine, that's really where the equivalency ends. When we're looking at the sheer scale of criminality exhibited by Russian forces, it's enormous compared to the allegations that we have seen against Ukrainian forces. The envoy also claimed that Kiev has dealt with allegations of wrongdoing more responsibly. Russia inevitably responds with propaganda, denial, mis- and disinformation, whereas the Ukrainian authorities have generally acknowledged abuses and have denounced them and have pledged to investigate them, she said. It's just all nonsense. This whole, we're going to investigate ourselves, just don't even tell me about it. Show me the actions that are a result of the investigations. That's what I want to see. I want to see shit get done. But, of course, the only answer is to send them more weapons. The conflict between Ukraine and Russia will likely end in negotiations, which is why Kiev needs to be supplied with more weapons, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has claimed. We all want this war to end, Stoltenberg said in his speech at the 68th annual session of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly in Madrid on Monday, adding that it matters to the U.S.-led military bloc how exactly the conflict concludes. Well, yeah, you're damn right it does. But, here's the thing. You want it to end? Stop giving them weapons and it'll end. Real quick. We need to realize that this war most likely will end at some stage at the negotiating table, but we must also know that the outcome of those negotiations totally depends on the strength on the battlefield, the NATO chief argued. So, if we want an outcome which is acceptable for Ukraine, and the West, the best way of achieving that is to provide military support for Ukraine, he said. Follow more money. NATO members must be prepared to support Ukraine for the long haul, Stoltenberg said, urging lawmakers to keep advocating for more aid for Kiev in their own countries. Stoltenberg acknowledged that this assistance comes at a price for NATO members. In our countries, many face cost of living crises, energy and food bills are rising. These are tough times for many, he pointed out. Yeah, exactly. Quit. We're not interested. We're not interested in defending Ukraine. Stop. Just quit. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. They are running this nation into the ground. And they're doing it at such a rate. There's no possible chance of pulling it back up. They're they're in a nosedive for the ground. And even if you pulled back on the stick with everything it had, you're still not going to be able to pull out of the stall. That's the problem in this world, really. It's not just the United States. This is countless countries are in the same shape. And the odd thing is how many of the exact same woes that these countries face and how they just happen to face them at the same times. I find that very interesting. It's not a good future. We have zero control of the car that we're in. And I'm just being real honest with you. It's not going to be an easy road. And for those that are more independent minded, those that don't want to just give in and go with the flow, it's not going to be pretty. You have to understand the people that are behind the things that are going on the combat field are going to be coming for you soon enough. Because if you're listening to me, you're freedom enough minded. I guarantee you're freedom enough minded. You're not going to be a fan of theirs. It's going to get rough. Because they're literally draining everything out of this country. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And that's why I'm getting ready to cover just a little bit of. Not much, though, unfortunately. Much of the news cycle is the conflict in Ukraine. Kosovo pushing for conflict, says Serbia. This is something that's really starting to flare up quick. It says here, addressing the nation on Monday evening, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić said there were reasons for concern but not panic after talks with the breakaway province of Kosovo in Brussels failed. By the EU's own admission, the problem was Pristina's refusal to abide by the agreement it signed with Belgrade. We're in for a tough time starting early tomorrow with many sleepless nights ahead, Vučić said. According to his account of the talks, EU Foreign Policy Commissioner Josep Borrell warned the ethnic Albanian government in Pristina that he had intelligence describing the situation as on the edge of clashes, but to no avail. Everything Pristina does is illegal and they know it, NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg warned them. Everyone warned them, but they are pushing for conflict anyway, Vučić said. Brussels summoned Vučić and Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti on Monday to resolve the impasse over Pristina's insistence on abolishing Serbian identification documents and license plates. Kosovo claims Serbia agreed to this in a 2013 document, but Belgrade has pointed out that Pristina has not fulfilled any of its obligations from that agreement. We put forward a proposal that President Vučić accepted today, while Prime Minister Kurti did not, Borrell said afterwards. I will inform member states about the behavior of the different parties and the lack of respect for international legal obligations. I have to say this goes particularly for Kosovo. Kosovo remains committed to dialogue on normalization of relations with Serbia, declared Pristina's Foreign Minister Donika Jervala-Schwartz, but said this can only be achieved by fair and just solutions with mutual recognition in the center. According to Vučić, however, there is no point in discussing anything with Kurti as recognition of Kosovo is not Serbia's policy. This is not about license plates, but about Pristina failing to abide by its allegations and waging a hybrid war against the remaining Serbs in Kosovo, he said. Kosovo is a province of Serbia that was taken over by NATO after the 1999 air war and declared independence in 2008. While the U.S. and its allies have backed the breakaway region, Serbia has had the support of Russia and China in refusing recognition. So, another place for a proxy war, if you will. It's insanity. It really is truly insanity. Alright, let me have a sip of coffee here. Russia targets extra profits of energy firms. And I find this interesting. And at first, my knee-jerk reaction to it was, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. They're going after it. But then I thought, you know what? If they did the same thing here... Pardon me. If they did the same thing here, the only thing it would accomplish would be raising the rates for the customers. Because no matter what, that power company, that energy company, they're going to pass it on to you. They don't care. They will damn well pass it on to you any chance they get. It says here Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a law on Monday which will raise taxes on the country's energy industry in 2023 to 2025. Russian oil and gas firms reported record profits this year despite sanctions. The profit tax for liquefied natural gas exporters has been raised to 34%. The higher levy concerns LNG producers that exported at least one shipment by the end of 2022. According to the document, energy giant Gazprom will owe an additional $1.8 trillion rubles, that would be $29.6 billion, to the state budget in 2023 to 2025. In addition to that, the law provides for an adjustment in calculating the severance tax on natural gas from January 1st, 2023, and a temporary increase of mineral extraction tax rates by 380 rubles per ton of coal. Oh, I hope you're all writing this down because there's going to be a test later. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work out. Maybe it will. I mean, I don't know what all their systems are like in Russia, but I know here it wouldn't work out so well because we would just wind up paying it anyway. We'd end up paying it anyway, and they'd wind up making money off of some tax break or some kind of bullshit. So they'd wind up with twice the money. We'd wind up with, paying twice the money. And so many people are so happy to support that. I don't get that. Sometimes it's not about sides. Sometimes it's just about doing what's smart. Let's see. Oh. Did I just bump that? I don't know how long that's been off. Sorry. How far back did I bump that? Oh, crap. It's been that way. For I guess about 10 minutes. Sorry. Oh well. You survived. Let's see. Gonna run through some headlines here, and I'm just tired. I'm sore. I hurt like hell. Russia boosts fuel exports to China. Global inflation leaders revealed. U.S. Supreme Court poised to hear dog toy suit. Okay, so there's some dog toys that look a hell of a lot like certain products, like in particular, well, here, Jack Daniels. Bad Spaniels is the name of the dog toy. And anyway, I guess Jack Daniels is suing the maker of the dog toy, for infringement. So, first world problem, Joe. Videos of alleged execution. Oh, I actually covered that. Pentagon chief comments on Ukraine commitment. Israeli government parties want gender segregation, says media. I did a report on that. Probably not a real popular report on that. UK bypassing its own sanctions on Russian oil, says the Sunday Times. Former president of Georgia responds to rumors of poisoning. A foul-mouthed Ukrainian diplomat tells Scholes what to do. Yeah, and what'd he tell him? I mean, there's many things he could tell him to do. Kazakh president secures re-election, vows more political reforms. You know, Lavoy Fenicum, he did tell him what to do. Man, I'll tell you what, you want to talk about extremist. Man, I don't know if I'd ever had the courage to have told the BLM to go fly a kite. Because, you know, that's terrorist talk there. Let's see. Yeah, that gets me. That man was such a kind and gentle man. You know, don't misunderstand that. I'm not saying that he wasn't, you know, a strong man. I believe firmly he was a very strong man. But if there's somebody to model your life after as a man, as a male, Lavoy Fenicum. 100%. Anyway, sorry, squirrel. Kazakh president secures re-election, vows more political reforms. Earthquake kills dozens in Indonesia. EU hoarding Russian diesel before ban, says Reuters. Traders fleeing crypto markets, says Bloomberg. Kanye West announces another U.S. presidential run. Kremlin pledges to find culprits in POW's execution. Germany offered to beef up Poland's air defenses, says media. Serbia-Kosovo negotiations a failure, says media. Turkey's military op against Kurds not limited to air, says Erdogan. UK faces steepest production slump since pandemic, says data. Hang on, I gotta have a sip of coffee. Peace talks would require... Oh, I read that one. Italians could be paid for marrying in church. Okay. EU nation to defend nuclear cooperation with Russia, says our foreign minister tells RT. So is this going to be like state-subsidized marriages? Is that what this is going to be? German exports to Russia continue to drop. Russia isn't seeking change of power in Kiev, says the Kremlin. Russian mayor resigns to go to the front line. EU struggles to seize Russian assets, says Politico. Taiwanese envoy explains why he congratulated China's Xi. Russian lawmakers rule on LGBTQ propaganda bill amendments. Ukrainian attacks risk nuclear disaster, says Rosatom. UN responds to Russian nuclear request. South Korea asks for Russia and China's help. Kosovo situation on edge of clashes, says Serbia. At least 2 million Ukrainians will migrate in the winter, says WHO. Elon Musk makes decision on Alex Jones' Twitter account. Nonsense. And I'm not talking about that he left the ban on's nonsense. The whole damn thing is nonsense. The whole damn thing. it's kind of one of those things. Nobody took the high road there. You know what I mean? So, let's see. Asian country stresses neutrality after U.S. defense talks. I mean, I don't believe in censorship. I don't want people to think that, but it's technically it's not even censorship because it's a private. I mean, that's the way it is, and I respect that. I respect private property rights, and I will defend private property rights, even if that means that I don't get my way. I would rather private property rights be respected, and I'm telling you, we've made some dumb moves when it comes to some of the property rights that we've already given up. You know, I just... as far as the Twitter thing is concerned, again, it's kind of a private property decision for that. That in and of itself makes it not really censorship. In order for it to be censorship, it has to be the government stopping you. And I know the government was involved in all that, and that needs to get dealt with. There needs to be trials over that. However, it's still, for all intents and purposes, on paper, a private business, a private company. It's not censorship. But, I mean, I get it. I get the censorship argument. I understand the fact that it's a huge platform, and I get it. But it doesn't change the fact of private property rights. I have to stand behind that first. That comes first. Alex Jones' mama drama comes later. You know, and we can sit there and debate whether or not what Alex Jones covered was correct, incorrect, tasteful, distasteful. We could argue about it until the cows come home. But it doesn't change a damn thing in any one of our lives. And it won't. Anyway. I guess I went on too long to be able to say I digress. I'll continue. Not with that. Asian country stresses neutrality after U.S. defense talks. Turkey claims first success in Syria operation. U.S. downplay. Covered that. Ukraine quietly abolished corruption rule. London mayor calls for censorship. Now, see, that is censorship. That's government trying to shut people up. That is censorship. And this came out, U.S. Space Force to launch new command. You have to put in the echo. If you don't, there's rights infringements and that. If you don't add the echo, it's a mess, right? They'll send the men in the black, right? They'll come to your house. They'll break your kneecaps and stuff. So it's tough. Anyway, United States Space Force is set to create its first ever. Hey man, I'm not getting my kneecaps broken. Its first ever component command in the Indo-Pacific region, where officials have increasingly pointed to rising tensions with regional rivals such as North Korea and China. The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, or Indo-PACOM. Hey, that's something they can say. Indo-PACOM. I get it. Announced the move on Monday, noting it would oversee the new Space Force unit after it launches later this week. Indo-PACOM is the combatant command responsible for much of East Asia and the Indian subcontinent, and will be the first to host Space Force component after the branch was created in late 2019. Dude, the knees take a long time to heal. Once established, the Space Force unit will reportedly help to improve U.S. capabilities to detect and intercept ballistic and cruise missiles fired from countries in the region, though the military offered few details about its exact function. And I've got to quit because I can't say Space Force another time. Or Indo-Pacom, because that's they really need to bring back not necessarily the news. That was such an awesome, fun show. Anyway, let me see what the hell that is. Powerful magnitude 7 earthquake strikes Solomon Islands. Tsunami warning issued. So that just happened according to Sputnik. So anyway, I am going to get out of here. If you live over by the earthquake, you should probably seek higher ground. And I hope you all have a good night. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it again. I hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.